wholesalers, I'm back, and I wanted to drop this video on how you can make $10,000 to $20,000 by copying and pasting this communication strategy. Okay, so in this strategy, we're going to go over a couple of things, but I broke it down into the foundation, the accelerator, and the mastery portion of it. So from beginner, intermediate to expert, we're going to cover everything. We're going to break down the fastest way to connect with sellers, what to say to sellers so you don't automatically get ghosted, and so you don't get banned by Twilio. That's a big one. How cold calling can get you thousands of dollars more per deal, and why combining these methods all together into a sensei flow, and you'll find out what that is, can get you even more money per deal. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to show you a way how to send out text where you don't need A2P registration or weird words that you can't say or fear of getting banned by Twilio. We're back to texting in the old way, okay? But you have to stick around. So on my previous video, which is here, I broke down the 3 parts that you need inside of your CRM, and this is the first part. This is the communications team, and this is the one that's going to do all the outreach for us, okay? So this method is going to find the leads and bring in the quality leads. But what do we say to them? So stick around to the end of the video, because I'm going to show you guys a hack where you can send out text without needing LLCs, A2P registration, or worried about opt-out language, right? We go back to text in the old way, and that's the way that we like it, right? So stick around, because I'm gonna drop that at the end. What are the 3 forms of communication wholesalers are using to get in contact with potential sellers? There's 3. Text message, RVMs, which is just a ringless voice message or a voicemail drop, or a cold call. All right, so I want you guys to think of those 3 parts like 3 parts of a heist team, okay? So the texter is for speed. So if you have a list of 1,000 people, the fastest, easiest way to reach out to those 1,000 people is to send them a text message. Now, the text message guy, he's going to be the fast talker in the group, right? He's the one that tricks people into, well, I won't say trick people, but he's the one who's a slick talker, right? The Ryan Reynolds of the group, right? So that's the one that you want to use primarily to send out in order to reach the most amount of people possible, because this is a numbers game. The second level is the ringless voice message. The ringless voice message is like the older wise guy, right, in the group. It always works. Older people love it, right? Because most of them will listen to their voice message where they won't do a text message with you at all. So that's going to be like the foundation of your group. You always want to be using the voice messages in everything that you do. And then in the last part, right, is the cold call. So the cold call is probably you or your VA, your closer. Those guys are the enforcers, okay? So it's like the scene in the movie where it's like, tell me everything that you know, right? So we get all of the information, because you could send out 20 text messages and you might get things messed up or you might miscommunicate somehow. But in a cold call, you'll get to the answers. You could get the inflection of the voice and mirror their tone a little bit more, where you could build more rapport over a cold call than you can a text message. Don't ignore the cold calling. You gotta do it, okay? So let's cover what you need in order to send out your first set of text messages to potential sellers. The first thing you need to get A2P registered. And what people don't know is, in order to send out your first set of text messages, don't do it on your personal cell phone or Google Voice or anything like that. What you have to do is use the third-party phone, and you need these things in order to text. So you need a website, you need an LLC, and then you need to get A2P registered, okay? So it's a process. So if you don't have those things in place already, contact a media agency who can get you a website and all of that stuff, or reach out to me, click the link below, and we could get you set up with a website, okay? But those 3 things is what you need in order to get A2P registered. Now, for phone calls and RVMs, you don't need any of that stuff. All you just need to do is just to build up the nerve to call these people, right? And that takes easy. If you're a phone person, no problem. If you're not a phone person, it'll come with time, right? But don't let that uncomfortable factor get in the way of you and a fat check, right? Because at the end of the day, it's going to pay off for you. So do it. So before we move on, let me just address something that I call the jerk pyramid, right? So in communications, and let me just bring up this graphic here and move this to the side. If you guys look, whenever we're dealing with face-to-face interactions, let me actually make this, hold on one second. So this is the jerk pyramid, as I call it, or the sphere, right? And what happens is you'll notice when you're marketing that people are more jerks, right? The further they get away from face-to-face interaction. So when you're on social media, that's where you're going to run into the highest level of jerks there, right? People who just leave comments, just out to hurt your feelings and things like that because they're behind a keyboard. So it only follows the natural line because texting, they're going to be jerks as well, but it's going to be less than social media. Phone calls, right? Once you stop texting and you start engaging in phone calls, you'll come across a higher number of nice interactions, okay? Because you are engaging with them on a human level, right? Instead of through text or anything like that. So keep that in mind. Phone calls not only get the most amount of answers, but it's also the best interactions that you'll have. But will you get burnt out on phone calls? Yes, that's just part of the game. That's something that you have to do. If you were working a 9 to 5, you will make these calls if your boss told you. So when you're the boss, make these calls. And face to face, if you can meet them at the property, and discuss some of the issues there, you can always get some price adjustments, some price reductions, or make them a little more comfortable with the whole transaction when you're there in their face and you're a real person. Always push for that face-to-face meeting. All right. Now, why do we like text, right? And right here, text is the fastest way to communicate or connect with the sellers, right? Like I said, you can send out a lot of texts at one time and you get 3 things. You get an immediate response. So when you send out that message, they'll get right back to you a lot faster than making the phone calls or expecting a call back. Okay, the rate for received text is never going down. It's only increasing with the amount of technology, right? So keep that in mind. Now, what's the other set? The other benefit is the convenience of it. So the sellers can respond at their convenience. So what I always say is, when do people respond back to you? When it's convenient for them, right? So even though you might text them at 10 in the morning, they might not respond back to you at that time because it's just not a good time. But that's okay because they got it in their phone and most people will respond, which brings us to our other part right here, which is high open rates. Text messages have the highest open rates if you look statistically for outreach, okay? So that's why it always kills every other communication, right? Because you get the high open rates, you get the immediate response, and you get the speed. Remember, Ryan Reynolds, right? Now that we covered the 3 different ways that we want to reach out to sellers, right? And we got the foundation. What's the next level? So we're going to accelerate this a bit. So the way that we do that is, 1, with our text messages. Let's look into it. So what we want to do is we want to change the opt-out language, okay? And the way that we do that is we go into our system, either our ReiReply or go Highlevel. So what we want to do is we want to change the opt-out language. If you get more than 2%, that's 2% of people respond back with the opt-out language, they're going to ban your account, right? Shut down for the night. So what do? We give them fake words instead. So we do that by going to settings, coming over to business profile right there. All right. And then right here, right, you'll see that it says to make SMS compliant, we're going to add an opt-out message. But when you customize it, it requires certain words. As you can see, it says stop, stop all, unsubscribe, all of that. You can't even send the message without one of those words being in there. So we have to use another word as a decoy. Okay, so most people are going to respond back break, and then you could keep moving knowing those people not interested. And it's the same thing if you're in another Go High Level like ReiReply as well. You change this message and then you're free to go. The second level of the accelerator is what's called the Sensei flow. All right, shout out to Tyler. Okay? Because he's the one that came up with that over at REI Sift. Go check him out. The guy knows his stuff, okay? But the Sensei flow is a method of outreach that means that you use every means of communication as one contact attempt. If you have a cell phone, what does that mean? We're going to send a text message, we're going to call, and we're going to leave a voice message. And that counts as one contact, okay? If it's a landline, we're going to call and leave a voice message, and that counts as one contact. And we don't stop until we reach out to them a minimum of 5 times, okay? So that's what you guys want to do in order to reach these people. If you look at my other video about the double tap method, you'll see more details about that, okay? But that's what we want to do. And the way that we do that is we set up our workflows and the transitions in order to do those things automatically. So instead of just calling on one system and texting on another system and leaving a voice message over here, put all of that into one workflow for you and your VAs to be able to hit them without doing all of those things. Create sample RVMs. Go to an AI service that uses voice technology, right, to create your voice messages. Use ChatGPT to come up with the scripts. But all of these things are available to you. You just have to know how to use them, okay? And setting up the workflows is easy. Again, if you need some assistance, hit the link below and we'll get you set up on a consultation, all right? And now for the mastery section of it, okay? So the mastery section, what we're going to do is, now that we have those other techniques in place where we put in the foundation, the accelerator, now we're going to use some mastery. And with the mastery, what I would suggest is adjusting your A2P required opt-out language. When you adjust that language, it reduces the amount of times people can flag you, right? And so you could keep the business going, right? Because if you get flagged a couple of times, it's over for you. Finito. Right? It's done. We want to adjust that opt-out language so that we don't get flagged. Now, once we have that in place, maybe we don't want to use the opt-out language at all. Maybe we don't want to be A2P registered, right? So this is the portion that I was talking about, okay? How to send text messages without needing A2P approval. And if you don't need A2P approval, you don't need websites and you don't need an LLC, which is a huge benefit for some people, okay? So the way that we do that is we send out text messages utilizing another technology, right, that takes the messaging away from Twilio altogether. So what does this do? We don't need to say, hey, reply stop to stop all communications. We can actually say, hey, are you interested in selling your home? Instead of using all kinds of language to dance around the topic. And we could send out even more text messages, because right now Twilio has it where you can only send out one message per 2 minutes. Well, with this new technique, you can send out one message every 1 minute. And so it's doubling your chances of getting a deal. Okay. And not only that, you get to keep your system. If you want more information on that, look down in the links below. You could get in contact with me about it. All of these things we can implement, whether we have motion, right? Which you should have motion, or if you have ReiReply or some other high level affiliate program, right? It all works the same, but the techniques is what we need. And the communications is what's going to get us the deal. So that's the communications portion of it. Let's put that into play. And then I have a part 2 and part 3. So stick around, guys. If you like it, give me a like, give me a follow, right? And reach out to me on all my channels. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, all of that stuff. Give me a like and follow for more tips. All right.